This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Let's talk with our guy Tom Murphy of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and Whole Hog Sports. Tom, we will touch on basketball a little bit later, but I want to get your thoughts on the portal guys. Malik Hornsby, Ja'Cory Turner, Aaron Outley. We saw Jaden Hazelwood enter the draft as of yesterday. As we welcome you into the show, just kind of your initial thoughts on some of the Arkansas players that have already made a statement on what they're going to do with the future of their careers.
Yeah, I mean, nothing super surprising yet, to be honest. The Slusher thing, pretty disappointing because he's a guy who, you know, was a big contributor and I think could have been in a strong position of even leadership, you know, next year. The Hazelwood thing, thanks for the timing, Jaden. We were basically trying to wrap up all our basketball coverage last night when he did that, but we managed to get it in. So, yeah, and, you know, when you think about it, I mean, what does Drew Sanders have to gain from another game? Will he play in a bowl game? We don't know, but it's kind of been on trend that these juniors who declare just aren't going to play in a bowl. So there's more to come, I'm sure. I mean, it's going to be a great transition period, a lot going out and a lot coming in. And, boy, it's such a balance. I mean, can you imagine Sam Pittman, his career as an assistant coach, you know, and O-line coach, he deals with the things that, you know, come across his desk. And now as a head coach, in rapid order, he's had COVID, he's had the transfer portal. It has been nonstop, you know, issues coming at him, and NIL, and but he's pretty open about how they try to have a plan. They go through these exit interviews and get the feel, and it's going to be a different Razorback roster for this bowl game, no matter where they wind up.
I want to ask you about some of these FBS openings. We brought up earlier, Barry Odom's been mentioned for the Tulsa job. I think there's 12 right now. Now, the most recent one that's been filled is by Auburn and Hugh Freeze. We'll talk about that in just a sec. But do you think Kendall Briles and Barry Odom are legitimate candidates for any of these job openings, Tom?
I think they are. I mean, they're guys who, you know, look at the numbers on Kendall's offense. I know people complain about red zone and, you know, a few other issues, but his total offense numbers are right up there, very near the top of the SEC. And you look at his system and you know, there's logic in this RPO game and the way you run it and get teams start going fast and make it where they can't sub sometimes. And I know it's been frustrating for Arkansas fans. The record would be a lot different, probably 8-4 if they'd been able to stuff in a couple of red zones. But man, you look, the Chiefs struggled in the red zone last weekend. A lot of college teams, I was tracking it because, you know, you watch the Arkansas game, wow, another red zone stop, you know, well, they managed to kick a field goal, but this has been a pattern for the Razorbacks. Well, a lot of the games I watched, Ole Miss had trouble in the red zone. Mississippi State fumbled one on the 2 when they thought they were about to go in. So anyway, yeah, I think, you know, Barry Odom has been a head coach. You know, if people look at straight total defense numbers from the last couple of years, it's not super impressive, but some of the schemes he's come up with have been game-winning schemes. So I don't know how it will all shake out, but I'm sure there's going to be, you know, a little bit of transition on the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be hectic just keeping up with all the roster change, both personnel-wise, staff-wise, and otherwise. Speaking of that, we'll find out Sunday where the Hogs will go to a bowl. You know, Memphis, Houston, you know, Las Vegas. You know, those seem to be the 3 hot locales of conversation right now. Yeah. My question is, who's going to be there to play the game? I mean, you're starting to see all these guys into the portal. You know, you're going to have some opt-outs, a guy like Drew Sanders. We spoke of Hazelwood earlier. Tom, how much stock can we put into a win or a loss in a bowl game when Arkansas may be down to like a spring game roster when we get there?
You're absolutely right. And it's the changing nature of the game. And I spoke about all the issues. Well, nowadays, bowls, I mean, it's nice to get the bowl swag and to go there and you know, be wined and dined basically. by the bowl committee and go out and have fun things together as your team. But when players prioritize, Jaden Hazelwood clearly felt it's better to begin working out and all that as opposed to risking injury or whatever in a bowl game. So I felt badly for Penn State last year because so many of their key guys were out. And, Arkansas had KJ, and it took them a while to get going. They trailed at the halftime, but they wore Penn State down. And so whatever roster we see, the composition of that for this bowl game, I think the Razorback coaches are going to have to, tweak some things, and we're going to see guys playing that maybe we haven't seen a lot of this year, and start getting a glance toward the next season. I mean, guys like Isaiah Satania, they've saved back a game for them to be able to play in this bowl game, and that's what coaches have to do anymore these days.
Yeah. We've had several questions. I think it's been mainly just rumblings on social media and fan talk about KJ, but now with Malik Hornsby declaring his intentions, it sure makes that quarterback room and the health of your starting quarterback, and assuming he'll play in a bowl game, paramount. What do you think will kind of be the look of Arkansas at quarterback in wherever they land in the postseason?
Yeah, well, I'm sure Arkansas fans are on tenterhooks waiting to hear, anything from KJ, and obviously he's got to weigh. I mean, surely he thought that after his redshirt junior year, would he be in position to declare for the draft? I don't know that. I'm not sure. I mean, there were scouts at the game and have been scouts at games, and I know they're looking at full rosters, but quarterback's such a big position. I don't see him as being a first, second round pick or anything like that. But he's a guy who you could see fits the kind of the modern mold, a hard to bring down, dual threat guy that you can continue to, mature. And I think he'll have a chance on the professional level. So this is something he's got to weigh. And if he declares for the draft, I don't see him playing in the bowl. But Razorback fans really would like to see KJ to improve their odds of winning a bowl game.
You brought up the fans, Tom. Let me ask you this. If Arkansas has 20-some-odd opt-outs and combined with the portal guys, I'm going to combine those two, and KJ, you don't know if he's going to play or not, and you're asking fans who've already spent a good chunk on money on parking, donations, season tickets, and whatnot, to make another trip to Memphis, Houston, Vegas, whatever the case may be, to maybe watch a team that isn't going to be even at full strength based on a number of different factors. Is that fair to the fans to ask them to do that? Is that fair, Tom?
Well, I mean, this is just the nature of the game now, and I think fans have to understand and realize that these players, NIL comes into this, and at some point, will NIL contracts call for them to play a full season? You know what I mean? Like, we've heard about talk of unionizing and things like that. Well, at some point, if you do that, then there's like some kind of obligation or requirement from the player's perspective. So I don't know. It's an interesting and should be much studied facet of the game moving forward. But I mean, fans have to understand. Players now are looking to maximize their earning opportunities, their health, and all those kind of things. And I know you play a 12-game season and your health is in question the whole way through. But I think it's when you get to so late in the season that players are a little bit more watchful of, getting hurt in that one game. And after, a different style of practice. Practices are a little bit different nowadays going into bowls. And I don't know. It's just a changing part of the game that fans have to realize is part of it.
Outside of the college football playoff and the New Year's Six Bowl, do you think because of that we're going to see a number of different bowl attendances diminish over the years as we continue to see this progress?
Yeah, I do think that the bowls, the new reality is that bowls are in some ways getting less magnified, and so many rosters are going to be different. I mean, just in the last few years, we've seen it being from just a few superstar guys that might opt out to, pretty decent numbers like Penn State. I mean, some of those guys who opted out in the bowl didn't get drafted and things like that. So I don't know. It's the whole structure of college football has gone through some seismic changes in recent years, and what bowls look like, and maybe even possibly the number of bowls moving forward will have to be reexamined.
I just wonder amongst the players, and it's hard to think like they do, but is there a mindset that, hey, you're not a really good player unless you opt out? That's how you know they're a good player, because they opt out. I mean, I wonder if there's that mindset or that kind of peer pressure. Well, you got to opt out because that means I'm a good player.
Well, it's part of the game today, and I'm sure there are some guys who do think that way. Yep.
I mean, that's just, as I was just listening to you talk about it, I can just imagine kind of the locker room pressure that, oh, man, you're too good, you need to opt out, and that just becomes kind of the talk amongst them. Hey, let's talk about this basketball game last night. 74-61 the final, but that doesn't really tell the story. Arkansas only led 15 minutes and 32 seconds of this game. Tom, it was a tussle to the last four, and what I thought the biggest play of the game was Ricky Council hits that bomb of a three as the shot clock expires. That sparked an Arkansas run that sealed the win.
Man, it was a fun game, and the Razorbacks have to understand, when you're ranked like this, people are coming at you. Troy is a veteran team. They were 6-1. They were scoring 86 points a game. Arkansas held them to 61. They had some injuries in the game. And a kid fell and probably has a concussion, hit his head on another Council drive in the first half. But I just think that Arkansas had to rise to the challenge and find ways to be creative offensively when they got the zone looks from Troy. And their coach, Scott Cross, he called that a 40-footer, by the way. Like that was just a dagger for us. Yeah. It was the end of a shot clock. Arkansas was up by 1, and so that puts them up by 4. They hung in there. I mean, they were 8 of 20 at one point from three-point range and really making the Razorbacks work. But I like that they have to find little wrinkles during the course of games. And, of course, when it came down to it, they just set Council up for one-on-ones. And, man, he delivered. He has a great, burst to get in the lane, and then he has a great aptitude for hanging, and he had some finger rolls and all kind of double clutch shots that went in. I mean, I think he made 5 or 6 going down the stretch. So nice post Maui. Had to kind of wake up from the hangover of Maui to win that one. So I think it was just good for their makeup that they had to do with that.
Tom, we'll leave it there. Appreciate you joining us. We'll talk a little more on Thursday, preview hopefully some Arkansas basketball this weekend. We'll see what other portal news we get out of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good, guys. Talk to y'all.
Have fun living on Twitter. That's what we're all doing for the next little bit, waiting on the next big Twitter announcement.
Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.